No, wait. Share what, like the...
And Anna, you're live.
Oh, a very warm welcome to the digital event Meet the Vikings at Lofoter Viking Museum. We're here in northern Norway, north of the Arctic Circle. It's roughly 8 degrees Celsius, a little bit overcast, but a lovely day altogether. My name is Anna Vermeeren. I'm the project manager of the SINA project, a digital heritage project that we have been running for the last 3 years. And this project has partners in Ireland, Northern Ireland, Scotland, and Norway. Today, this event is broadcast by Museum Nord with the help of St. Andrews University. They're in the background running the show for us, and we're really thankful for their help. I wanted to just very briefly tell you a little bit about the SINA project. We have been working on this for the last 3 years, and there are 4 case studies in different countries. We have a monastery site in Iceland. We have a church in Killybegs in Ireland. We also have the Strath of Kildonan with different outdoor heritage in Scotland near Helmsdale. And here in Norway, we have Vågar, a place relatively close to us, 1 hour away. Where we are developing different digital tools that help us as museums or heritage centers to bring content to our audiences digitally. So this project is about a museum without walls. And especially in Corona times, this has been a really good tool for us to get to audiences and to talk about what we have, both in our collections, the objects that we host there, but also the landscapes around us. Today, this event is part of the concept of the digital tourist. So we hope that you as an audience feel a little bit like stepping into our world, visiting our site and being part of an experience with the Vikings. I will now hand you over to our director, Geir Johansen, who will talk a little bit about Museum Nord.
Hello, everybody. Museum Nord is an organization that is fairly new. It was established in 2004, and it's the result of a consolidation process in all over Norway, where they went from 500 museums down to 60 museums. So Museum Nord consists of 21 different museums in the 3 northernmost regions of the Nordland County. We have small museums, we have village museums, you can call them. We have big thematic museums, like this one here today, which you will see, the Viking Museum, one of the largest, with over 100,000 visitors every year. We have lots of tourists coming to our islands to visit us, both from Norway and internationally. So just have a brief look around to see the landscape. We are on the center of Vestvågøy Island, which has an inland which is very good for agricultural activities. But at the same time, as you see down here, you have the water, which in Viking Age was the sea. So we are in the homeland of the Viking chieftain. And on the top of the hill here, he had his mansion and he was having his farm and he lived here. Okay.
We will now walk towards Elin, the first Viking that you will meet today. And Elin is going to introduce us to the Viking Museum.
Hi, my name is Elin, and I'm an archaeologist and the curator. The Viking Museum is what we call both an indoors and outdoors museum. It's been 25 years since we opened the doors. And the first building is this reconstruction of the Longhouse. And later, like 9 years ago, we got another building for housing the exhibition, the museum shop, and the cafe. We also have a harbor where we have 2 Viking ships, Lofoter, Vargfoter, and we also have a boathouse, smaller cafe, and an activity area where we have axe throwing and archery and smaller activities. Every year in August, except this year due to Corona, we are hosting the Viking Festival, where Vikings and guests from all over the world visit us and join in games and the Viking market. Stay tuned with us because Ola Andreas is going to explain more about this longhouse.
Welcome to Lofoten. The longhouse that you see behind me is currently the longest we have found from the Viking age. During the archaeological excavation here at Borg, we found it to be 83 meters long and 12 meters wide. Because of its size and what we found here, we believe it to be a Viking chieftain house. The reconstruction you see behind me is from 1995, and we're going to be taking a look inside. We want to bring you into the longhouse, show you how the house is constructed, how the rooms are divided, and talk a little of the function of the rooms. When we enter into the longhouse, you will meet both Vikings and guests. You're visiting during opening hours and will experience us as we always are, a living museum. We are now moving into the living room of the common area of the Viking chieftain's longhouse. What we have chosen to focus on in this room are the daily crafts of the Vikings and everyday activities. What you can see here is a barb-weighted loom together with several textiles and workers. What you can see along this side of the room are textiles, leathers, shoe working, and at the very end we have an own section for the woodcarver of the house. On the other side of the room we have a bed. There is a reconstruction of the Osebeg bed. And going further up the room, we have a minor cooking area, or an area that shows off some utilities and utensils they had in the Viking Age for making food and otherwise for serving food. In this common area, we suspect that it was mostly the female family members and the slaves that sat down and weaved, for example, carpets and clothes. We are now entering into the feast hall, probably the most important room of the longhouse. What you can see around here is several benches marking the wall, a fireplace, and we'll soon see the chieftain's seat. These have been constructed out of the archaeological excavations, and we believe that perhaps the benches marked and lined the walls like this. In this room we also found several gold foil amulets. They were about 1 to 2 square centimeters and mark of some gods. We believe that these are marking Odin and Skada, and this were probably used in religious or ceremonies in appointing a new chieftain. In the center of the room you have a fireplace. The original one was much more centered and was 9 meters long, where we had a secondary fireplace that was lining the wall. We are now entering into the last room of the longhouse. We call this room Yggdrasil. We call it Yggdrasil because of the massive tree standing in the center of the room. Yggdrasil was a tree of life, and it means Ygg's hest, or horse. Standing around Yggdrasil and on Yggdrasil, you can see several creatures, mythological creatures and gods. We also have Mimer's well, where Odin sacrificed his eye in order to gain eternal wisdom. You can see the eye staring back. In the original excavation, we found this to be the barn. It is possible that this barn was filled with several sections where the animals were separated. It is also possible that the animals were walking freely in this room. Behind me now you can see the original longhouse. You can see the mounds of the original walls that mark the outside of the longhouse. Inside you can see pillars standing, or wooden bricks. They mark where the roof holding pillars would have been standing. The minor ones mark the doors of the longhouse into the entrance hall. The longhouse is split into a common area, entrance area, feast hall, storage room, and the very final part and the biggest part of the longhouse, the barn. So we are now in the chieftain's house, or in the feast hall. And this is one of the personnel who's been working here in the summer, serving lamb soup. What can you tell us about this room and what you're doing here?
So right now we're sitting in the feast hall of the chieftain's high seat. This would have been both a religious and a political center for the community. And here during the day now we serve lamb soup from 12 o'clock until 5 o'clock. So this lamb soup has been cooked in our iron pot here over the fire with barley and lamb and carrots and rutabaga, and it's been seasoned with local herbs from a local farm, and we serve it with Viking bread and sour cream. Along with the soup you can also get some mead, which is a honey wine that is brewed in the same way the Vikings would have had it. Yeah, we're here every day from 12 to 5 during the season, and we hope that people want to come and see.
We're now standing in the common area, and what you can see here is the workplace for the woodcarver. Can you tell us who you are and what you're doing?
Well, my name is Eira, and I'm making a tiller. This is what you steer the boat with. And this is a tiller for our largest Viking boat, called the Lofoter. This is the one I'm copying, but this one here has been broke, so that's why I'm making a new one. This one here. Just a bit of painting.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Excellent. Thank you very much. So, can you tell me a little bit about who you are and what you're doing here?
My name is Christian and I'm a guide here at the museum. So I talk to people, tell them about the history of the place, about the Viking age, and often some various local facts and so on.
Excellent. And where are we currently standing?
Right now we're standing in a part of the chieftain house that we call the living quarters. It has that name because we think that in the original building that was here in the Viking age, the corresponding part would have been where most of the people living in the chieftain's house would have had their sleeping places. They would have cooked food here, they would have eaten, and they would have done domestic work in here and different sorts of crafts work. We have not reconstructed the sleeping places in here. We have focused on having workspace for our crafters.
Excellent, thank you very much. And we have right next to him, we have a crafter called Kim. Please, could you tell us who you are and what you're doing?
I'm a seamstress, and I work with making clothes for the museum. I also do a little bit of other textile crafts, such as weaving a little bit, and needle binding, anything that is needed. Right now I'm making a linen dress that is going to be used by someone here at the museum.
Excellent. And you make all the clothes and for the museum?
Not all of them. That would be quite a lot of work, but most of them.
And what can you tell me about the workspace you're sitting in?
We call this the textile corner. So in this corner of the house we found weaving weights, such as these, that keep the work taut. So we think that in this corner of the house it's possible that the Vikings had their looms. Of course we can't be completely sure, but we think it's possible.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So Jan, can you tell us what you're doing?
Hello, and thank you for joining us here live at the Viking Museum. This is our panel. This is Ola Andreas, the museum guy, and Jan, the boatman. We are ready for answering questions for the audience. So please send us questions, and we'll do our best to answer them.
Yeah. One question that I had. Hello. I'm watching the Facebook feed, and there are some questions here. So one question was that you earlier on slaves were mentioned. So Camilla Seafox wanted to know if you could please tell us a bit more about that. Did the chieftains have slaves, and where did they live?
We have one question from Camilla. She's wondering if you can tell about the chieftain and slavery. Would the chieftain have any slaves here? Could you elaborate a bit on that topic?
Most likely, yes. It would. Back in the days, it was quite common. That's the house. It wouldn't be the like, difficult thing. everyone else. Like live, where they go, where they work. And most likely they would live in a barn. Well, they could also live in the building that with everyone else. But we found a small fireplace in the barn. And as far as I know, cows don't use open fire. So obviously they live there. We don't know much details. They haven't left too many reasons.
We can also assume that the slaves that were here, mostly local people. Many people believe that the Vikings only went out to Europe to collect slaves. It is a common misconception. The Vikings slaves, the trolls, as they were called, would probably be coming from local areas, close by areas.
Yes, and there's also I have to contradict with Jan said. We're not sure if they found fire in the barn, but it might also be other smaller houses that can live inside the long house. We're not sure where they live, and yeah. That's how it is with archaeology.
Many people are disagreeing.
Yeah.
Many times.
Okay, thank you guys. We're open for more questions from the viewers, if there are any more questions.
And of course, don't be afraid to ask. There are no stupid questions.
Oh, we have a question here. Is the museum open and available to visitors all year?
No, it is open on the summer times. Normally in the years, it's open full days, 7 days a week sometimes. And in the winter times, it's open 2 days a week for about 4 hours, I believe.
Yes, and but we have all just reduced off hours, so it's Wednesday and today in just but that's only like 2 months. But mostly we have opened.
Great, thank you. And now we have a questions. Isabel wants to know, where did the Vikings come from?
The Vikings were a group of people. Calling them Vikings was something they did during summer or periodic times. But the people we call the Vikings today, most that come from Scandinavia, Finland, and northwest parts of Russia.
Perfect. Libby wants to know, what was the instrument that was played in the video? Is it based on a find?
The one.
Yeah, I think that was.
It's sort of called
Ocarina.
or ocarina.
Ocarina.
And yes, it's based on time. I don't
How many people would have lived in the long house? One of the viewers is asking.
That is a good question. The truthful answer is that we really do not know, but we can assume that it was the chieftains living in the house with his family, with his retainers, with his treller, also slaves. And sometimes when he had, I think the number would have changed very often because there would have been people visiting, and then there will be a lot of people living here. But the total number we do not know. That's how it is with archaeology.
Let's follow up with a question in the same street, so to say. Deborah is asking, was the Longhouse the only home? If not, how many other houses would be in this village? What do we know of this?
Yes, there is no village here on the Borghøyden, but we know that the Longhouse, this reconstruction we're sitting in from the 900 BC, is
was the only chieftain house, but we also had smaller houses that were excavated close to this house. We also have found other long houses. Later, we call them Borg 2 and Borg 3, and the other one, it's Borg 2 is from the late Viking Age, and Borg 3 from the Middle Age. So we had really much activity here.
Good, thank you. Now, Juan Carlos wants to know, do you have fighter reenactments or fight enactments? Do we do fighting in the museum?
So not many. We focus mostly on craft and on daily activities. We have some people who can fight, but we don't do it on like daily basis.
As I remember, it's mostly in the festivals.
Yeah, during festival we have a lot of people coming, a lot of Vikings from all over the world, pretty much, and then we have fighters coming.
Yeah.
Here is Avril wants to know, what can we learn from the Vikings? What from the Viking Age can we bring into today's living, in your opinions?
Oh, you want to start?
So many we could try.
What we can learn from the Vikings is a very wide question, broad question. I would say, if I'm going to take my most interesting, I would say the gathering of people and gathering under one roof for story times and simply the social gatherings of the Viking Age. Not only that, but also the standing of men and women, and yeah, that's my idea.
For me, I would say all the craft. Viking technology was simple enough that you can pretty much do everything you need with your own hands, using materials that don't destroy the environment around you, and without wasting too much. They lived in very harsh conditions, so they had to use all the resources available. No place for wasting anything.
We are going to continue the question afterward. I'm going to introduce the last video. And the Viking ships, they were essential to the chieftain here at Borg, as he was living off the sea and needed a vessel for transportation of goods. We have 2 vessels here at the Lofte Viking Museum, and we're going to take a closer look at the smaller vessel, Vargfoter, and a reconstruction of a boathouse.
So Jan, can you tell us what you're doing?
I'm coiling the rope so I can throw. Out. But in general, I'm sailing.
In general.
So I'm usually here in front, just pulling all those ropes here to make it work. Yeah, I'm Jan. I'm here mostly as a shoemaker, but not today. Today I'm a sailor. And I came from Poland. Like most of our Vikings here, I'm not very local. And
what can you tell us about this boat that we are currently sitting in?
Bolin är fri. Ja.
Yes. So, what can you tell us about this ship?
This ship is a replica of a Gokstad ship, so a boat found in southern Norway in a grave mound. It's 2/3 size replica, So it's much smaller than original, around 3 times as light, despite being only 50% shorter. And we use it here to ferry all our visitors around the lake every day in summer.
Yeah. And how do you use this? Do you only sail? Do you row as well?
We row as well when there is absolutely no wind. Even with slightest wind, we are still much faster on sail. Like you can see now, we are going around 3 knots, which is not much, but it's still a lot faster than going on horse. Our fastest crew went something like 2.5 knots.
This boathouse is the construction of a boathouse archaeological excavation on the Ramsey outside of Stavanger. The boathouse was approximately 30 meters long and 7 meters wide and provides plenty of space for large ships, like the Goksa ship. This boathouse is not an example of what boathouse looks like on Vestvågøy in the Iron Age, but a rather reconstruction of a Renaissance boathouse. There must have been more activity at Borgepollen in the Iron Age. Remains has been found here after approximately 20 boathouses. Boathouses and ships have been important to most of the people in the Viking Age on Vestvågøy. They have not been only used for fishing and trade, but for collecting eggs, down and seaweed. The boats and ships have also helped maintain lines of communication between people from different parts of the country.
We are then ready to take some more questions.
So we have gotten quite a lot of questions from our viewers, and one of them is Betsy wants to know, what are the smaller houses like? We have now seen the biggest longhouse ever found and excavated in the world, but what would a smaller Viking house be like?
That's a good question. They will have different sizes. We actually, some of them might just be like 1 to 2 rooms. There will be a barn and there will be like a living room. And you can also have really small houses that just 1 room, but there might be like a living room, but it also might just be a smaller house on a farm for the store food and other equipment. But it's not normal to have such a long house as we have here then. So I guess then mostly the sizes must have been everything from 10 meters, but that's just, they are very different, so it's hard to say exactly. But they mostly have like 2 rooms.
Thank you. Victoria wants to know, were all the people buried in the boats when they died? So if you died, would you be buried in a boat?
Well, if you could afford it, like boats were expensive. That's a lot of work, a lot of iron nails to connect the planks. So a lot of people were buried in like kind of holes in the ground. There were even mass burials if that was necessary, like during war. But of course, everyone most likely would like to be buried in the boat. Some of the boats were just dug in the ground, so we can find them, and like they teach us a lot about Viking life. Some of the boats would be burned, and then we find only coals and burned nails. But yeah, it was common. I wouldn't say everyone, but I would say common.
Thank you. Juan Carlos wants to know, when are the festivals we just mentioned?
Yes, they are mostly every August. It's for 5-day events. So next year, we do not know yet. We are going to post that on our homepage. So please visit our homepage. That's a good question. I love that.
Hopefully next August.
Yeah. Isabel asks, or Isabel comments that this all reminds her of Noah's Ark. Do we have any conventional Viking names? What names are conventional Viking names today?
Well, several people do take names from the Viking Age, or inspired by the Viking Age. You have Odin, for example, which is named after the chieftain god. Ole is also one name such as that. Olav, I believe you also have Håkon, which is also quite common, and Harald.
Any female names?
Freya, definitely. Freya is the goddess of magic and war in the Viking Age. Do you have any?
Perfect. These are all names that we know from today's life.
Yeah. Sigrid, I believe.
Yes, correct. And but my favorite is Olaf Svennebrunni.
Sliding down.
Yes, our chieftain at Borg.
Deborah is asking, what holidays and festivals did the Vikings celebrate?
The first celebration that comes into my mind is Midsummer, which is the celebration of the full sun, I believe, which is still a tradition in Sweden, if I remember correctly, today.
And we also have Yule, what the names of we are connected with Christmas. That was a celebration without Christmas tree, probably. And well, it was a feast. So, any other?
Well, in general, it's difficult to talk about Viking religion or Viking traditions because most of the sources about that are either much later than Viking era, or they are sources from different cultures who just described Viking rituals. My guess would be all the sun related, so mentioned solstice and winter solstice, so Yule, but also equinox, the day where the night and day is exactly the same length. Yeah, we don't know much.
That's good. Kayleigh is making a comment that she has Viking ancestors. That's nice to hear. Sue says hi from Fife. Juan Carlos wants to know if visitors can ride the boat. Alan has already answered, but let's ask again. Can visitors ride the boat?
Yes.
Yes, of course.
Of course.
Let me see. Camilla is asking, which are the main patterns, themes, and topics that were used in textiles and other crafts?
Ooh.
Do the Vikings have any particular, do the patterns have any particular meaning, the patterns that are in use?
Do you have an idea?
I don't think they had like patterns had specific meanings. Well, we have very few information about that. We know that Vikings just liked pretty things. Most of the patterns used on like clothes, they didn't show any specific scenes. They were like geometric or like swirls. All the patterns on jewelry that or wood carvings that actually show some beasts or other mythological creatures might have some meaning, but it's really hard to tell.
We do know that several different areas have different patterns, such as Oseberg has a very specific pattern that it did, but maybe that's just the regional patterns. It's hard to say.
Yes, the Vikings was fond of animal ornamentation. Yes, so for them, I think there was probably some meaning in it, but for us, it's hard to say.
Let's look for more questions. Here's one. How many people would be living in this area when the chieftain and the lady of the house ruled?
Oh, that's a good question. For us, it's a bit hard to say because we do not know how many people is living in the house, like I explained earlier. But I believe there were many people actually living here, surprisingly. And yeah, do you guys can?
We do say about 40 to 80 people would be living and staying in this house. But
Yeah, but that's one might change also.
it is a rough estimation.
So yeah, so it is hard to say, but in this era, there will have been lots of people.
That's good. So we have a question from Per Øyvind. He's asking, or he's saying, being close to the Sami culture in Lofoten, can you say something about the connection to the Sami culture for your place and the Nordic Viking culture in general? So the relation between the Sami and the Viking culture here and in general.
Yes, there will have been a great connection. There will have been like trading. We know that the chieftains here will have been interested in Arctic fur. Yeah.
Yeah, Arctic fur.
Yeah, perfect. Yes, and especially when he's trading, because he what actually made him rich was much of the marine products. So he will also needed trading contact with the Sami. So the connection was, I believe, quite tight.
Close.
Close, yeah, close, yeah. Mm.
There were close tradings.
Yes, and you also know from that, was it Harald Hårfagre that actually married
a few
yeah.
siblings, yeah.
Mm.
So, Alan is asking, he has so many Viking ancestors in his family and would love to get more info on kings and queens. Where can he find information on his Viking ancestors and on kings and queens?
It is very difficult to say specific Viking ancestors, as the Vikings didn't really note down their family trees. That was noted down later in sagas mostly, and that was done by Christians. Many of the stories have been done to simply support a family's claim to a throne. So, if you're going to be looking for something, I would say start by going for the old priest books and look for your last names. If they have any Viking-related meanings, then possibly that's the best way.
Also, modern research found out that almost everyone in Europe have a Viking ancestry. They were pretty active back in the day at getting the genome all over the place.
That's good. This is actually not just a question from Alan, but several people have been asking the same question.
Yeah.
So Isabel asks, is it true that Vikings were red-haired and Saxons had blonde hair?
No.
No, I would not say that's true. No.
Okay.
No, I believe the Vikings were lots of different type of people, like we today are Norwegian. So I think that's how we perceive it. So it's more like tolkning.
Yeah, interpretation.
Yeah,
interpretation.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so that we are making. I also believe that the Vikings could have been some people not only from Scandinavia. There might be other type of people.
Like I did mention before, the people that we qualified as Vikings were also not just from Sweden, Norway, and Denmark, but also from Finland and northwestern parts of Russia. And also the people coming from the rest of Europe into Scandinavia and adopting that heritage would also have been looking different. It is interesting to note, though, that one of the gods is specifically noted to have a very red flaming hair and very red beard, and that would be the god Thor.
Juan Carlos is a keen watcher and have many questions here. His latest question now is, and it's great, is mead still popular in Norway? The drink mead.
Yes.
Is there anywhere you can try mead?
You can get meat in more and more places, and it gets better and better quality. I don't come from Norway; I'm from Poland. So we have a live meat tradition as well, and I would say it's getting more and more popular, and we have meat at the museum as well.
That's the last thing I was going to say, but yes, we have mead here. So the best place to actually drink mead is here while we have feasts.
That sounds perfect to me. We're open for more questions, so you can please just keep writing, sending them in. It's great fun that so many people are watching this live event. What kind of activities can you do during summer in the museum? In Lofoten Viking Museum?
We have a few different activities down by the activity area, down by the harbor. We have sailing, rowing. You have archery and axe throwing. Normally, if there wasn't Corona times, there would even be some possibilities for Viking-related games.
Also, on a normal summer, you could dress up as a Viking up here in the longhouse, put on some clothes, grab some weapons, take some cool pictures, and
Just don't fight with the weapons.
Talking about cool pictures, can you see the northern lights from where the Lofoten Viking Museum is?
Yes.
Oh, definitely.
Yes, especially nice if you've been to the feast and come out in the evening and then you see the lights.
Do you have many visitors during winter?
Yes, we do. Yes.
Mark wants to know, would the Vikings have used Pictish dwellings where they took them over?
If they would use
Pictish dwellings, would they have used Pictish dwellings where they took them over? I'm not quite sure if we understand the question.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
I think I get it.
Yeah.
Question. Pictish dwellings as like Pictish houses when they came down to their land. I'm pretty sure, yes, indeed. Why wouldn't they? Good house is good house, no matter who built it and in what style.
That's an interesting question. It's what I have learned is that I know there's lots of longhouses that have been built. And so I know that they might take the pick to as wives and they got married, but I'm not so quite sure about that. But I'm also going. What I can do some more research, and I'm going to post an answer at our Facebook tomorrow, and then we will know.
Great. Deborah is asking, would it be common to sleep on the boats, or would they tend to find land to camp when they went sailing or on journeys?
I think the sailor wants to answer this one.
So there is no land between us and Iceland. If that answers part of the question, and it's around 10 days to sail. So of course they had to sleep on the boat. If they traveled along the coast, they would probably stop for a night, not only to sleep. The biggest problem on the boat and long journeys is water, so they need to stop to refill the water. Whenever they sailed across Atlantic to Iceland or Greenland, they would probably not sail with like full crew. They would have much bigger boat for much fewer people, just to pack all the supplies needed for a long journey. On war, when you have boat full of 80 people, you have to stop. There is just no space to really sleep on the boat.
We'll give it a little bit more time for you to send us more questions. If the questions are stopping, we will round off this sending and maybe be back another time. But we'll keep answering for a little while. And Marcella wants to know, I would like to know what was the role of women back in time?
Women had different roles in the Viking Age. For example, it is, now I'm just going by the mythology here. Women were more gifted in the terms of magic. They were naturally gifted, as also the goddess of magic was Freya. And if any man wanted to do magic, he had to use female clothing. Another part of that is also that women, specifically the chieftain's wife, would handle economy, and the moment the chieftain was out, she will be handling the farm. She will be taking care of guests, she will be taking care of the soldiers, and in general, just make sure the territory was safe.
I also just want to say it depends on the status the women had. If they were slaves, then we'll have really little dependent.
Yeah, that also for men.
Yeah, that's true. Mm.
I would like to know if a chieftain would be married to one or more wives at the same time.
That's one of the another difference between men and women. Men could legally be married to several women, although one of them would be the main one, the first wife, and the rest of them would be a bit more like concubines. But interestingly, women in Scandinavian society before Christianity could divorce, and divorced woman would not be seen as any worse or any like lesser, maybe even more respected if she had child, and that was something important, that she could show she's able to give birth to a healthy child. So they would be very sought after by men at that time, even after divorce.
Now we have a question more related to how we run the museum today. Per Eivind is asking, you obviously have to adapt to modern requirements today. What are the pros and cons for the museum about the things that are not authentic, like electricity, refrigerators, etc.?
Yes, that is true. It's we're trying to be authentic as possible, but even now with fire safety, we have signs that tell us where to escape if it's a fire. And like you see me, I have my hair is not this is not the original color, so yeah, it's a bit hard, to keep completely in line with the authenticity here. We also have an exhibition with audio guides. But what we're trying is actually, we have this reconstruction of the longhouse. So everything up here is what we want to be authentic. We have museums guides that are wearing the Viking clothes, and we have crafts people that are doing crafts inspired from the Viking age. So I think we're actually doing quite well, even if we have to have some safety measures that are modern technology.
Okay, thank you. Mary wants to know if we are aware of any documentation that records the Vikings' excursions to Fife in Scotland. That's a question we might have to come back to later.
Yeah, I think we might have to come back to that one.
Yes.
Yes.
Very specific.
Yeah.
That's good. But then we have a very good question now. When were the Vikings?
When
were the Vikings?
When were the Vikings?
Yes. What age are we talking about?
Yeah, the Viking Age then. It will be the later parts of the Iron Age. We say roughly 700 to 1000. We also have the attack at Lindisfarne, which I believe was the year 793, the 8th of June, I believe. Maybe. Yeah. And the end was the battle at Stamford Bridge, which was 1066. But we do have Viking finds before the time period and after the time period. But we do say a roughly 300-year period, 700 to 1000.
Thank you. Paul is asking, do the Vikings view themselves as Vikings or rather as Norsemen, Danes, or Swedes? What do they call themselves? That's how I interpret the question.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I think that's something we call them. Do someone remember what's been written about that time?
I just remember a saga text I read, which said I don't remember the names here, but it was being part Viking or going Viking. They were not calling themselves Viking specifically, but they did call the job they were doing possibly Vikings. But they themselves probably did not refer to themselves as Vikings before later years of the Iron Age, when the rest of the people actually did refer to them in this way. Maybe they refer to themselves more as Norsemen or Danes.
And quite often they were even more specific, and they just called themselves by the name of the tribe they were from. So we have some written sources from England where they describe themselves as Sogn, and that's part of the part of Norway.
I know it from Ottar. He was a tradesman, and he when he visited King, don't remember the king's name now, Alfred, and I think he referred to the people of the north.
That's good. I'll just repeat for our viewers that we take now just a few more questions. There are still questions coming in, but we will round off in not too long. Still, we'll continue a little bit. What is any view on the TV series Vikings? Please elaborate.
Okay, I can start. I like the first season. They tried to have some historical accuracy, but after the first season, it just became a jumbled mess of different historical characters in the same time period.
Well, I didn't really watch that much, but they are really pretty Vikings.
So I wouldn't look at their clothes, at least not the main characters. They're all very overdone. And at least in first seasons, the boats are also quite far from how they should be. But it got better in later seasons when they got better budget and actually started employing actual Viking ship with professional crew.
One of the problem with the Vikings is you can see they have a very like gray tone filter on them. Like many of the Vikings wearing like very dark, broody clothing. This is probably not how the Vikings would dress at all. They loved colors: yellow, green, brown, blue, red, specifically blue and red. If they had the option to dress up in colors, they would.
Perfect. And this will be the last question. This will round off this live event. It's a question from Per Øyvind, and it's a personal question. What do you personally enjoy by living as Viking? And what is your favorite aspect about the Viking culture?
Let's start on this one.
Well, I believe I kind of answered it earlier with the craft and with ability to make everything. And in Viking culture, there is mentioned earlier Ottar, the trader, who visited King in England, and he described his journey. He at some point decided to go around Nurkap and check what's in the east in like modern day Russia, and he went there just because of curiosity. And at that time in Europe, where most people were stuck in their village, someone just deciding to go to the other side of the world because he was curious what's there, that's like amazing for me.
I would say I think I answered the part as well before. I really enjoy the sort of the social gatherings and the storytelling and the way things were done around the fireplace and making things come alive.
that is what I miss. That's what I want.
I like the long houses and the Viking ships and all the technology they had, because they're like us, they get around.
That is perfect. And
Yeah.
that will conclude this live event. And hopefully we can be back at a later stage. We could add that you can always follow us on our Facebook page, on Instagram, and you can keep asking us questions there. You can send us emails, or even better, you can visit the museum.
Thank you so much. Thank you.